Welcome back to the Rent Roll Queen podcast. I'm your host, Tarsi Taylor, and today's episode is sponsored by Reebok, the Real Estate Business Owners Conference. How can partnering with a buyer's agent help propel your real estate business to the next level? Today, I chat with Jayke Cuschieri from Novo Buyers Agency about how working with a buyer's agent can help your business excel. Welcome to the show, Jayke.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on the show. Can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Jayke Cuschieri. I own Novo Buyers Agency, a buyers agency in Brisbane, helping people buy property.
Buyers agents, they hold a very special place in real estate.
Yeah.
So how is it a benefit for real estate salespeople and property managers to work with a buyer's agent?
Yeah, sure. So if you're looking at the management side of things, I think it's very important for teams to have a buyer's agent for the fact that they can actually grow their business.
Yeah.
Like if you've got somebody who is a buyer's agent that's attached to your, management, you have the ability to use them as like a second tool to grow the management. Like you've probably got
the rent roll.
You've got a rent roll there of say 100 owners, right? And there's a handful of those people that are looking to their next property, but they might not know that yet. So if you pop that idea in their head and say, hey, you might have $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 worth of equity in your property, you could set yourself up, your kids up with that sort of money by buying the next property.
What I love about that, right, is if real estate agents get really involved in their business, right, in their rent roll, let's say, and they're actively giving them like a CMA every 12 months or something, and you can see the growth in that property, you can see the equity.
Yeah.
And then it can be like, all right, well, you're in a position where do you want to look at buying another property?
Yeah. And I think that's probably where I used to do a fair bit of property management.
Yeah.
Where I feel like a lot of other management places lacked was the fact that they just sort of collected the rent, did the routines, that sort of stuff, but didn't take the next step in, potentially trying to set up them for another property, for another property, and at the end of the day, it grows their rent roll. So
it does grow their rent roll.
It's a strange one, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. It is strange. Well, it's not strange because a lot of people are very time poor, so they're not doing what they're supposed to do in property management, which is, also servicing the client, which is extremely important.
Yeah.
But you as a buyer's agent, how about we get a clarification of what a buyer's agent is and why you actually wanted to step out and do this type of role?
Okay, so a buyer's agent helps someone buy a property, similar to how a real estate agent would help somebody sell a property. So someone would employ me to buy on their behalf or buy together with them the property they're looking for, whether it's an investment property or an owner-occupied property.
Yeah, and then with property managers, how can they work with you better to grow that rent roll?
So one or two of the property management companies that I've got, a thing going on with, basically we have an agreement where they will push like an email out to their database every 6 months and basically say, we work with Jayke, he's an extension of our business.
Yes.
This is what he does. If you're looking to take that next step to get that next property, get in contact and go from there.
And that's how you would work with their clients on a one-on-one basis and then help them source a property that would be an investment and basally put it back onto their rent roll.
Sure. It essentially grows their business.
It does. It really does grow their business. And a lot of people aren't tapping into what is an amazing service because you are right too. You've got your sales agent and they're there to sell.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult for them to act as a buyer's agent when you're trying to sell property because you can't do both.
You can't. It's too hard.
No.
And I think, probably going off what you were saying before, I think not enough real estate agents work with buyer's agents.
They don't.
Like, at the end of the day, if you have a few open homes as a real estate agent of a weekend, say collectively you got 5 open homes, you meet 20 people at each, there's 100 contacts there and you can't service them all.
Yeah.
If you've got 20 houses, there's only so many people you can fit into these houses. And you're just essentially letting a bit of seepage through your business where, if you've got somebody if you're an apartment specialist and you have a listing that's like a $1.5 million house.
Yeah.
Are you going to let that buyer just go to somewhere else and not get something for it? Or would you rather send them to a buyer's agent, pick up a referral fee and try and get something out of it to A, grow your business, grow their business, and there's also that relationship in between.
Right. So the relationship basically works like what you were just saying before. They've got all these buyers who they can't service because they don't have the listings for those clients. If they referred them back, because you would have a referral agreement with the agency, if they referred them to you, you would then basically pick up a phone, have a conversation, see if you can work with the buyer specifically, and then put it back onto their rent roll once they've actually bought that property. That would be the idea of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's one thing that like the commercial industrial side of real estate do really well, is they like to work in with each other to get deals done.
Yeah.
On the residential side, it's very like, you know, everyone keeps their arms distanced away.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, I think it's getting better, but I think there's also a bit of a misconception between some real estate agents and and buyers agents, that they're sort of treading on each other's toes, you know,
instead
at each
of
other's
working
commission.
as a team.
Yeah. And I think the more of an extension you have, you know, from your business, and people look at it and say, you know, wow, like, you know, you can see everybody sort of working together.
Yeah.
It makes you look better. So I don't know why.
Well, it's an extra service that you're actually bringing into your business, and you're basically, you know, because you can earn, like you said, referral income.
Yeah.
Which is something that you're doing for passing on a contact.
Yeah.
And then if you can manage to sell it to an investor, you're basically going to give it back anyway into their portfolio pool. So
it's like a full circle, and it works so well, but not enough people do it.
And this is the thing
It's really
too, right? Because sales agents own the listing. That's their agreement with that homeowner.
Yeah.
They don't own the buyers.
Yeah.
This is something that it's so weird how our industry doesn't get that properly.
Yeah. I think some of the bigger agencies are starting to do it more, having like a buyer's concierge. Yeah. But even that in itself is still not the same thing, because they can only service the buyers inside the listings that agency has. You know, say the agency has, you know,
20 listings.
Yeah. Yeah. They can only service that.
Yeah.
You know, those buyers to those properties.
Yeah.
Like if you looked at a percentage of it, you know, you might only hit sort of 10, 20% where you can actually place them into that property. What are you doing with the other 90%? Like, just, it's such an easy sort of conversation, partnership with, you know, buyers agents, property managers and sales agents. Yeah. And I think, you know, there's a lot of benefit to it.
It's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it, really?
Yeah,
because it's like, how do you, because it's an extra service that you're providing.
Yeah.
And yes, you work for your agency, like that's your agency and what you do. But if everyone just worked together, we'd actually have a better outcome completely. Yeah. And buyers would actually be like, oh, they actually genuinely care.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden they're like, oh, I really like this agency. And then you're having a conversation with them about that, you know, about, okay, buy an investment property, do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, not everyone is an investor, but they still get a referral income even if that person doesn't buy as an investment. Whereas when you've got the agreement with you, they can basically service it back into their portfolio and help grow their business. Yeah. Because that's the asset value.
And I think as well, once you sort of take the next step, like I know a lot of agencies have their own sales and property management, but, you know, more and more you'll see there's sales agencies, property management agencies and buyers agencies. Yes. And it makes like a perfect sort of little triangle, bit of a
it's
nice...
a little love nest, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But again, people just don't see it. I think they're very one-eyed about it, and
I think it's because it's so new. Like realistically, buyers agents really haven't been prominent in the scene until about 10 years or so ago. And you can see more and more popping up.
Yeah.
So what made you decide that buyers agents is what you wanted to do? Like, because there's real estate has so many different facets.
Yeah.
Why that?
So I started as a real estate agent, was a sales associate, worked for a few different agencies, went through all the conferences, all that sort of stuff. So I knew how it all sort of worked from the real estate agency side, but one of the agencies I worked for, I had a friend of mine who turned around and said, can you help me buy a property? I want to buy this one. It was at Morningside. Yeah. Can you help me buy it? I was just like, yeah, sure. So I called the real estate agent and said, hey, like I'm a real estate agent. I've got a friend. He's really interested in the property. He wants to offer this. And he goes, oh, okay, like I'll cut you in. I had no idea what that meant. I think I was like 20 or something at the time. He's like, I'll cut you in. I was like, yeah, sweet. So he's like, oh, can you just send through a conjunction form? So I went to my principal. I was like, what the hell's a conjunction form? So he's like, oh, fill this out, blah, blah, blah. I was like, that's really easy. And then I was just like, can I like keep doing this? And my boss was like, no, like you sell property. You don't help people buy property. And I just thought like it was just such a unique concept.
Yeah.
And I sort of felt like I was tapping into something new. So I sort of lent into it a little bit more. The principal wasn't overly happy about it, but I started, you know, I was sort of new to the industry, didn't know many people. So everyone that came through his open homes, because he was like quite an established agent, I was like, I'm going to try and put these guys into houses in our agency that, you know, that other agents are selling. It was at a time, not like now, where everything's super hot. It was, you know, you probably get 10, 20 through over like a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So like properties would sit there for 1 or 2 months at a time, where nowadays it's like no chance.
It's gone.
Yeah. So I just kept leaning into that more and started doing conjunction deals with different agents. And I was just like, this is really cool. And I won't lie, I wasn't a massive prospector. Who I sort of learnt off was, he was quite old school. His idea was you go door knocking 2 hours a day, which I enjoyed the door knocking. And then he's like, and you come back and do cold calling for 2 hours a day. Yeah. That's how you're going to build your business. I liked it because it, you know, it threw me in the deep end. Like I still remember knocking on the door of the first person. I forgot my name. I forgot the agency where I was from.
That is awesome.
I went dead quiet and just gave her this pamphlet. I was like, I'm so sorry. And just walked away.
At least you did it.
Yeah.
Like you did it.
I sort of had to. Yeah. I sort of had to. But like it couldn't get any worse than that. And that's sort of what I thought every time I would knock on someone's door or whatever. So yeah, you know, taking a bit of a backward step, I just enjoyed helping people buy.
The buying process is so different, isn't it, in comparison to the selling process? And it's such it's a beautiful process. And I guess people are so nervous too because they don't know how to negotiate, and that's where the power is in a buyer's agent. Yeah,
it's funny because I'm sort of at the age now where like a lot of my friends are, you know, buying their first house or maybe their second house, whatever, and they do this for like the process for like a month. For instance, like they're like, you know, go see a broker. That's like, the first little bit. We'll start going to open homes, and then, you know, within like a couple of weeks they've purchased. And like, you know, comparing it to somebody who's like a buyer's agent where like you deal with that week in, week out, you know, year upon year, it's like someone might try and buy a property in like a month, which is fine. Yeah. But like you don't have the knowledge, like I suppose taking a backward step to where I was talking about going to the conferences and stuff like that. Yeah. When a real estate agent says to me, you know, something at an open home, like in my head, I'm like, oh, I know what this means. Like if you walk into an open home as a buyer, not a buyer's agent, but a buyer, and an agent says to you, oh, do you live local? In their head, they're trying to work out if you live in the area, because they'll, you know, obviously Google your name and work out if they're going to be, if they'll end up on your pipeline as a future seller. Yeah, right. So like little things like that where, you know, normal buyers are quite naive and walk in and, you know, a real estate agent will ask a question. They're also like putting everything in their mind to work out what sort of buyer you are, where you are in the process. Yeah, are you a hot buyer? Are you just the neighbour coming to have a sticky beak? Like all those sorts of things. What I love too is that you're saving people time, because time is such a big factor. And, you know, you can do this for business owners too. And I know that as a buyer's agent, you know, like if they wanted to buy a commercial property, you would work with them on that basis so they can just get on with business. Yeah. And it's such a great investment to get back your time by like working with a buyer's agent. Yeah. I think that's probably the biggest one. And again, going back to like people that I've like, especially friends that have decided to do the process themselves, like most of them work 9 to 5. Yeah. Like, you know, yes, you can after work spend a couple of hours going through realestate.com, but you know, you try and contact an agent at 7 o'clock at night, they're not going to pick up the phone. Like they deal from probably like, you know, most good agents will start at probably 7:30 in the morning till about sort of 5:30.
Yeah.
Like they're the hours that they deal with.
Yeah.
But you're at work. So how are you going to...
I've said that so many times about the 9 to 5. Like 9 to 5 does not exist anymore. We are a 24-hour society. We want to deal with people after hours because most people are still at work 9 to 5.
Yeah. So that's where like I do find it funny when people like, we work 9 to 5, but we want to buy a property and we're going to do it ourselves. Like, by all means, if you can do it, do it. But it's a lot more than just, you know, going on realestate.com, rocking up to open homes on a Saturday. Like, if you want to be a hot buyer, like, it's a big time commitment.
Yes.
You need to be available on the phone, you know, 9 to 5 during the day.
Yep.
Like, if you can't take those phone calls when a real estate agent's gone, all right, well, you know, it might be a Monday or a Tuesday morning where they've given everyone a last chance to put their offer in, but that real estate agent, you know, likes you and he wants to give you that last opportunity.
Yeah.
He calls you at lunchtime on a Tuesday being like, if you can get in another offer, like the property's yours, but you don't pick up that call, you miss that property.
You do miss that property. And you know, with buyers as well, they're not... it's not that they're not savvy. The amount of research that you have to do to actually understand a marketplace is quite extensive. So there's a lot of time that's been invested there.
Yeah.
And if you're wanting to invest in a property, you don't really know if that's going to be the right investment property when you start doing the research and if it's going to, whereas this is like them doing that themselves. But when you work with a buyer's agent, you have to know the market. You have to know the research. You have to know what it's going to sell for. You have to know what you can probably negotiate it down to. You have to know the return. Yeah. And that's the benefit of a buyer's agent. Yeah. That's how I see it.
Yeah. And I suppose another thing that I probably dealt with more recently is understanding like the numbers when it comes to offers. Like if you're up against one other person, you know, you might not have to jump the increments that the real estate agent says. He might be telling you, oh, I need you to jump 15 grand. Yeah. When you're only up against one other person, like you don't have to jump, you know, you don't have to do exactly what they say. Like you can incrementally jump, but still keep yourself in the game so you don't end up overpaying.
And see, they're the conversations that you have with the real estate agent. They're conversations that you are privileged to versus a buyer. They're not going to tell a buyer that information.
Yeah. It's just about relationships.
Oh my God, it's so amazing. Yeah. Jake, I want to say thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
I'm going to put all your details in the caption. And for real estate agents out there, I really encourage you to basically reach out to Jake and work with him as a buyer's agent just to service your clients better and hopefully grow your rent roll.
Lovely. Thank you for having me.